The Aeropress never goes out of style, and for good reason. Its simplicity and plethora of uses has kept this little pocket rocket relevant since its public release in 2005, and like many of you know, it's even spawned a world championship. Armed only with an Aeropress, a filter, coffee, and water, baristas go head-to-head to make the best cup with the same coffee. So this year I had actually planned on competing in the competition, so I set aside some quality time with my Aeropress to really dial in an outline of a recipe that I would use in the competition and maybe modify a little bit depending on the coffee. In the end, I decided because it feels like the world is in some perpetual state of something that I would hold off. But figured that I would share my recipe as it turned out to be a great option for a wide variety of coffees producing a clean, sweet, and balanced cup with consistently high extraction. If you're familiar with some of the more recent winning recipes, you'll know many of them use 30 plus grams of coffee, which in a previous video I did about these recipes really seemed to be a snag for a lot of people because it's just not realistic. Well, the WAC responded to that and dropped the max dose to 18 grams, which results in more of a challenge in getting a recipe to stand out in the pack, but makes them much more appealing as an everyday brew. To start, I decided to use a total of 15 grams of coffee and a total brew weight of 250 grams, which is just a slight bit over a 1:16 ratio. I found most coffees to be a bit too heavy and buried a bit of the nuances I wanted to pull out of my beans. But like I said before, this recipe should work with many different coffees and roast levels, just making small modifications mainly in temperature, i.e. darker is cooler and lighter is hotter. Also, a couple things worth noting. For one, the paper filter remains unrinsed, which is a nod to Mr. Hoffman. But more importantly, I decided to run a long bloom, 1 minute and 30 seconds to be exact, as it allows for the coffee particles to absorb as much water as they can, resulting in a better extraction in the final product. After the bloom and the rest of the water is added, I also use a spoon to stir from the filter to the surface, but focusing on a back and forth or side to side motion. As Jonathan pointed out in a recent blog post about brewing on the Aeropress, circular stirring creates a dome-shaped bed that results in an astringent flavor in the cup. Finally, pop on the plunger and press down slightly to create a seal and slow the dripping. And when your timer reaches 2 minutes and 30 seconds, give the entire Aeropress a quick swirl and then a slow controlled press that should last about 45 seconds to 1 minute. Once you reach the hiss, just press through and your brew is done. I know when discussed in depth, this recipe can sound a lot more complicated than it truly is. So next up, I'm just going to show it to you step by step. So that's it. It's actually very simple. And much like the Aeropress itself, it's a very versatile recipe that'll work with the broad spectrum of roasts and processing. I've been extremely pleased with this recipe as a way to not only make the most out of a smaller dose, but maintain a high level of consistency, sweetness, and overall extraction in my cups. If you give it a try, I'd love to know your thoughts, and also what coffee you brewed with. I'm curious to better understand its full potential beyond my kitchen and studio. So with all that said, I'm going to wrap this video up. Let me know your thoughts on the Aeropress, this recipe. If you get a chance to try it, I'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback. And of course, if you have any questions on this or anything else coffee related, drop them in the comment section down below. And as always, I'll see y'all next week. And of course, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you want to help me make more and better videos, join my Patreon at the link in the upper right-hand corner. Follow my Instagram at Sprometheus for content throughout the week, my blog at Sprometheus.com, my coffee at littlegiant.coffee, and as always, stay caffeinated. Ponyboy.